My name is Soong Chan Rah. I'm the Robert Munger Professor of Evangelism at Fuller Theological Seminary. One of the things that I've been reflecting on is how narratives, imagination really shapes our society. And that if we have dysfunctional or broken imagination and narrative, that it could impact society negatively. So I've been working through how we fight or we create counter-narratives that address the brokenness of the narratives that we confront every day. So how do we begin to create counter-communities? How do we create counter-narratives, counter-stories that emerge from Scripture, that emerge from the life experience of the church, so that the broken narratives are not just spoken about, but that we are actually generating a counter-narrative that creates a momentum in the opposite direction of many of our dysfunctional broken narratives. An example of a broken narrative would be that there are problems we deal with in our society around the issue of race. And we think we solve those problems very simply by changing individuals' lives, or even sometimes changing systems and structures. But oftentimes we find that even if we do change the systems and structures, the narratives and the imagination that fuel those systems and structures still remain. For example, slavery was torn down, but Jim Crow took its place. Jim Crow was torn down, but the new Jim Crow took its place. So even though systems and structures and the individuals that run those systems and structures come and go, the narratives that fuel these systems have remained. And so in order to fight these broken, sinful narratives, we create new ones. We create narratives of lament and humility as a counter-narrative to the stories of triumphalism and exceptionalism. We create narratives of a genuine, multi-ethnic, racially reconciled community going against the narratives of white supremacy and the narrative of racism. We create narratives of communities that love one another, share with each other in common, and look out for each other across the dividing walls of hostility, rather than continue to perpetuate the narratives of division and hostility. Counter-narratives are what the church can express, whether it's lament or a different type of community. These are the counter-narratives that are needed to address the brokenness of our existing narratives. To continue thinking through these ideas and thoughts, I would suggest you take a look at the Seminary Now class that I did, as well as looking at some of the books, such as Prophetic Lament on InterVarsity Press and Unsettling Truths that I co-authored with Mark Charles. And also, please come join me at Fuller Theological Seminary to study together as well. I served as a pastor for many years in the city of Cambridge. And one of the things I learned is that if you don't put into practice the things that you're reading and learning about, sometimes they disappear. So maybe there's a way that pastors and churches and Christian communities can really begin to initiate and implement the practice of lament. It's a very important biblical practice and one that is oftentimes ignored or neglected. So what does it mean to introduce lament into your church service? What does it mean to introduce lament into our scripture reading? How do we recover these biblical practices and ways that it becomes a part of our everyday lives?